There we go. Sorry about that. I was muted, but I was talking. So let's try that again. Hey y'all, welcome back to another stream. Today we are talking, so the microphone is on. Got a bit of a late start, so we'll adjust as needed. I did cut the starting soon screen a little. Oh, I forgot to post it on Instagram again. Dang it. Oh well, I'm not going to worry about that. Most people that drop by are people who have been here for a while anyway. But if you want to tell your friends, feel free to do so. So what was I saying? But yeah, we're back with another stream. Again, these streams are only about an hour or so, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, we're not getting started yet. Just as a quick reminder, the more viewers the stream gets, the bigger the side or the preview image, the preview becomes. I apologize. I am fresh off of dinner and I'm a little bit sleepy. And I've got a lot of stuff on my mind right now. So it's probably going to be a very distracted stream today. I'm not going to lie. I feel like I've got something stuck in my teeth. How do professionals do it? I don't know. But that's fine. Wait, did YouTube change a couple of things? Hold on. Oh, no, there it is. I'm blind. I'm blind, guys. Apparently. My eye doctor said, I'm perfect, but I'm apparently blind, so. It is what it is, right? But yeah, the more viewers I get, the bigger the preview window becomes. That changes each stream just to encourage, participation. I know an hour isn't exactly a long time for participation, but a girl can hope, right? Let's see what else. All revenue that gets earned through streams, so mostly it's Twitch with the revenue. All that goes to babydj.org. That gets donated in December, and I put up screenshots in Discord and Instagram. And then mostly anything else that you need to know is in the ticker below. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask. I'll be happy to answer them. Very little writing got done between last night and today, so no changes. They're still at the entrance to the Sarogi tribe encampment. And yeah. And Farrah is mad at the guard. The guard is very distrustful of the new person. Yada yada yada. Alright. So that's actually right. So elderly hunt breathes because the elderly woman just gave him a nod before looking up at the two who were mounted on their horses. Nick and Traveler. The woman greeted them. Thank you for letting us know. We have begun preparations. The council will be convening shortly to discuss the matter. How did you know that the fire... Farrah regarded the woman with confusion and skepticism. How did she know that Farah was speaking the truth? She was quick to defend. She gave a quick sniff of the air to see how much ash was being carried northward. Can't type northward, but she smells nothing. It was only my duty, Nick stated humbly. May we rest here for provisions? May we rest here shortly and gather some provisions? She asked. We'll be leaving before long. Farah needs to, I promised Farah I'd be escorting her as she tries to locate some of her tribesmen. Who hadn't returned before the fires were discovered. Lost scouts. The elder mused, her lips pursing. Of course. You can rest here as long as you need to. Oop. I don't know what causes that. Sorry, guys. You can rest here as long as you need to. As long as you need to. You can stock up on some of our herbs and breads as well. It won't be long. Bear promised. Being able to restock was her, though admittedly she was nervous about losing time in finding her tribe's scouts. She also wasn't the relief also did not alleviate her thoughts about the elder either. I know you won't. The elder said, stepping beside the guard and motioning toward the gate of the Sirogi tribe. Nick and Farah glanced at each other and began to lead their mounts into the camp. The healer took the lead, with the scout following not far behind. As they entered the encampment, It was much more peaceful than Farah had even imagined. They were growing crops out in the main thoroughfares. They're growing so many crops. Thoroughfares that it defined where the walkways of the encampment were. There were no private tents or wagons, but rather there were poles that were erected over stretches of the land. Some had more herbs or vegetation growing under them, while others held bedrolls or long seats and tables. There were 2 private tents that Farah could see. One was small and situated near the back of the camp. The other was longer, almost as long as one of the poles that were erected and had thick cloth stretched out between each of them. They reminded Farah of sideless tents. Some had more herbs. The other was longer, almost as long as the sideless tent that was over the table and chairs. But this one had sides. As Farah peered at it longer, she could see that the sides of this tent were not affixed to each other. We're not permanently fixed to each other. Instead, having been tied around the support poles by rope. Nick led her past all of the vegetation and the onlookers of the tribe toward a small pen where only one other horse rested. Farah's owl's eyes furrowed at the sight. Does your tribe only have one horse? She asked. He nodded. We rarely leave, he explained. Except to look for the rarer elements that cannot be grown in this soil. How is your tribe going to move? She asked, looking around. There were no wagons. Everything need to be carried. And again, as her green eyes swept over the encampment, she realized that there weren't many heavy objects that needed to be carried. Maybe the tents. The tents were tent-like structures. If they decided to bring them along, maybe the bedrolls. But the people of this tribe didn't seem to have a lot to carry along with them. Look, he said simply with a shrug. You won't be able to outpace a raging fire just by walking, Farah pointed out. And if there are men keeping ahead of the fire, you'll be face to face with whoever is setting it too. Dick shrugged. Waste of time before it reaches us. I trust that will make it away safely. Farah still had her doubts, but kept them to herself as she slipped off of the horse. This next chapter is going to be difficult, but we can make it work. Excuse me. All right. As she slipped off the horse. First things first, she declared. She declared, slipping the water skin off of her belt. Let's refill the water. Okay, next chapter. What do you mean? There's a blockade. the knight captain yelled at the poor foot soldier who had run up to the procession. The tangle of knights, along with Deja, Raimi, and Luca, had made their way nearly to the second gate. Second gate through the excuse me, through the twisting mess of narrow streets that marked the outer portion of Praencia. It had nearly taken them the remainder of the day to just they still it had nearly taken them the remainder of the light of the day. Here we go. Of the light of the day. Get those words in, yo. And they still were barely halfway to the castle. Excuse me, again. They came upon the panting foot soldier as they had rounded a bend in the road. Excuse me. Just that. The unlucky messenger explained. So they lived a few blocks away. We're clearing it now. A few blocks away. Like someone piled furniture. Like someone emptied their house of furniture. Yeah. Emptied their house. Nope, not horse. House. Of its furniture. And deposited it all into a pile in the road. We're clearing it now. But I don't think it will be passable. But I don't think it will be passable until... I don't know if I want to keep... I'm going to keep it. But I don't think it will be passable until after the moon has come up. Upon cursed at the news. Isn't there another way? Isn't there another gate that we can take? The messenger shook his head. It will be faster. It will be faster. Just wait. Just wait. Just wait, sir. He answered, respectfully. another curse came from the Knight Captain's lips. But he nodded. He ended up nodding his agreement. Very well. He said, "We shall wait here." Just to the side of the irate Knight Captain sat Deja, who was wishing she could get down and stretch her legs. She decided, however, when she decided to play by the Foreseen rules, she would not press the matter with him. Instead, she decided, stretch her aching legs. Gotta make sure that we know why she wants to stretch them. Her aching legs and lower back. Instead, she decided to bide her time by looking around at the buildings surrounding them. They were very much, they were very much in the same brick squat building style that she had seen originally upon entering the kingdom. Hey, love. Although the exterior of the buildings ranged in color and occasionally height, and width, there really wasn't much new to them after several blocks. Even this deep into the city, things were still very packed together. Even as they rode, the onlookers still very packed together. Although not so packed, the onlookers couldn't slip in between the buildings to get a peek at the small parade that was coming through. Deja noticed how the onlookers, even the ones whose faces she had seen multiple times, faded away after the sun had set. There were still a few. There's still a few here and there, including a few who seemed to still be hanging around even all these hours later. The novelty of the procession must be wearing off at this point. with how late it was. The people of the city more likely entertaining thoughts of rest than watching someone ride by on a horse. Glancing to one of the alleys in the bend of the road, not bench, bend of the road, she caught sight of one of those familiar faces. Thin, almost gaunt, and watching her with sparkling eyes that showed interest. It showed interest, but also that showed not only interest, but also intelligence. It almost reminded her of Kesha. Kesha's eyes, but in a different face. Also intelligence. Could be plotting something. Though his intense gaze made it seem like the only thing he was plotting was the next alley he'd be hearing from. His eyes must remind him of Bishop's eyes, but in a different face. Excuse me. Alright. He realized that she was looking directly and nearly jerked back into the shadows. Instead, he managed to gather his composure, and gave her a polite nod. She nodded in return. All right. He had her attention. Oh, shoot. I forgot what name I gave him. Lamar? No, Lamir? Lamil? It's fine. He had her attention. Lamil smiled as she returned his nod. But didn't move. If he moved too soon, she might get suspicious that he was only watching her to wait for. He's only watching her. If he was too soon, she might get suspicious that he was only watching and waiting for some sort of reaction. He was, but she didn't need to know that. For now, he'll just keep watching as if he were a fan of hers, or at least of the military's, since the news of the Foreseen hadn't made it to the public knowledge yet. Was piling that furniture really necessary? Probably not. But it did afford him this moment right now where he could make at least visual, to make at least a visual greeting to the woman that, yeah, was so interested in. That was her first step. Next, after that, he would just have to keep appearing. After that, no. After that, he wasn't certain, but yeah, was had in mind. He'll need to go back, check in with her. For now, though, he was going to wait till after the blockade was removed. Could he slip through the alleys and offer to help the military? Of course. Is he going to? Not at all. This was the perfect time to keep his eyes on the Foreseen. And for this is the perfect time to where he could take in as many details of the Foreseen as possible. Her shorn hair, her ruddy complexion, her dirty linens, her dirty linen clothing as compared to the armor of the knights around her, or even of the leathers of the two who were bound on horses near the rear of the procession. Her body language spoke volumes. She was aware of her status and wasn't afraid of anything that might mean for her. Inwardly, Lamille had a bet with himself on exactly how aggressive of a woman she might be. She might be one-on-one. Alright, so Tia had told him all about the Foreseen in preparation for this day. She didn't know everything about this woman, but she did warn him. One sec. Sorry. She didn't know everything about this woman, but she did warn him. She was a formidable fighter. Someone who trained with weapons daily. The build, the way that the Foreseen's muscles were. This is going to sound weird. I don't want to write this part. Hold on. The way the Foreseen's muscles were visible on her otherwise live form made him realize that Tia was not joking about how she trained. She had the figure of someone who often worked. She have to work hard, lifting. Worked hard using their arms while lifting objects of various sizes. It's a terrible description, but it'll do for now. Alright, the way the Foreseen's muscles were visible on her otherwise lithe form made him realize that change. It's 9 o'clock. We'll go for 12-ish more minutes, I guess. Alright. Indeed. Lamille thought to himself. I would hate to get into a fight. Eventually the blockade was removed and the procession moved past the alleyway where the mill and a couple other onlookers were gathered and watching them. The young man slipped back into the alleyway. And took a couple of back alleys. And took a few turns deep into new back alleys that took him toward another alley between two buildings. This was the closest. This was where the furniture had been piled up as a blockade. And the knights who cleared it pushed the furniture back into this alley and into the alley across the road as well. He wouldn't be able to get a good view from this spot, so he pulled some duct back into the back alley and ran forward a few further buildings and found himself without any company between the two buildings closest to the gate that held the inner buildings of the city before it became the kingdom proper. Where nobility and those who could afford and within the city lived. Like him, were forbidden. Leaning against a wall, he watched as the procession of knights and visitors of the procession made its way down the road past him and to the gate. They paused briefly at the gate, mostly for formality, and then they continued on into the city, into the wealthier portion of the city. Once they had passed, he returned to the alleys and made his way home. Home was the basement. Home was the basement level of a building that stood 3 floors tall, but long ago, someone who owned the building decided it would be a great idea to carve, to follow suit, follow the trend of the time and create a cellar below. It wasn't comfortable, but it was nice and cool, and would be a good place to store food and drink that didn't like sunlight or heat, sunlight or warmth. Those owners are no longer around, and now it only stored the mill and Tia. Once he arrived at the cellar door, a slab of wood nearly as tall as his knee, I would say an orange slab of wood. He reached down to pick it up. He hoisted it open. Latched it so it wouldn't slam on him as he climbed down, as he began to take the stairs down to the cellar, and pulled on the latch to allow the door to close behind him. Tia, he hollered, his voice echoing in the square room. I'm home. Let's see. Where am I at? Okay, a few more minutes. Do I want to start a new chapter? Not quite yet. The room, as usual, was dark. He reached into his pocket. Would that even be a thing? Hold on. He reached into his pocket and produced 2 flint pieces. He then went to a table where he knew a candle was waiting. Reaching out with a hand first to confirm it was still in place, he then flicked the flint together close to the candle wick until the sparks caught onto it and created a dancing flame. much, although not all, of the room's darkness fled and was replaced by a soft yellow hue, amber hue, by a soft flickering, I can't type, a soft flickering amber hue once the candle was lit. In the corner opposite of where the table and the candle were was in the shadowed corner were sat a woman in a chair, in a wide chair. The candle's flame didn't quite reach that corner, so excuse me, Lamel could see clearly was the woman's legs up to her shin or knees, depending on how the flames were dancing. Tia, he said disapprovingly. You've got to get up. You've got to get up and move. There's a little bit in the little bit of light that created shadows, he could tell that she was shaking her head. You know, when I created this character, I didn't expect her to be this stubborn or shy. Huh. Excuse me. A little bit of light. She could tell that she was shaking her head. Why not? Looking for the next step. Came her. I'm actually making a note about her legs. Woman's bulbous. The legs through a dingy, nearly worn through dress. Oh. Her terse reply. Don't interrupt. Okay, I think that's a good place to stop. For now, kind of wanted to get into this part of the story, although it's not exactly lining up with the other characters the way I thought it would, but that's fine. We're going to stretch these two out a bit, I think, before we get into their action-y points. Alright, but it is time to go ahead and wrap it up. I'm going to have a very busy next few days, so it's possible I might be too tired to stream. Just follow me on Discord or Instagram and I'll let you know. Or, you know, you won't see any stream notifications. That's a good way to know they're not streaming either. But yeah, the plan is tomorrow and Thursday I'll be streaming between 5 and 6-ish. And then Friday it'll be another 8 to 9. And then Saturday it'll be a bit of a longer stream, and I have no idea about Sunday. So that's kind of the game plan. Game plans can be fluid sometimes, so please forgive me if I break those plans. But yeah, that's, at least for the next couple of days, that's what we've got going on. Alright, and so let's get the word count. Oh, I think I almost hit 3,000 words today. Not bad. In just this hour alone. Like I was saying last few days for people that popped in, it's always great. Like when you know what you want to write and you've got like the fire behind it, it's a lot easier than when you're like, I know I want to write this, but how do I want to write it? And I mean, you saw a little bit of that tonight too, I think. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will be back tomorrow, basically midday, early evening-ish. Bye-bye!